What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin Cash today. Shout out to the Dragon Riders in the House of the Dragon. You guys hit that like button, subscribe. We're going to get into it real quick. We're going to talk about the long-term prospects for Bitcoin Cash, what it would mean versus Bitcoin, and what it would mean in overall trajectory for the price to see the potential highs I'm looking for by the end of this cycle, and they are pretty substantial highs. You know, I've talked about this pretty candidly throughout my time with my YouTube channel here. I want to say probably for about a year now, I've been calling for prices that are above 10K, potentially as high as 50K, but with a specific area in mind that's right around 20 to 23K. And I want to go over what that would look like and why I believe it's possible. So buckle up, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more. For a lot of you, this is just going to be, you know, if you've watched the channel over the last year, this is going to be more of the same stuff that you've heard, but sometimes it's nice to kind of go over the game plan. You know, my wife, she'll ask me all the time, like, if the projections that I have for our portfolios are accurate, or like if I'm just like pie in the sky dreaming, you know. And every single time I will sit down with her, I will give the most pessimistic outcome that I can come up with, right? Other than we're losing everything, right? I'm just, from the realistic possibilities that I have, I go for the lowest assumed prices. And I always talk it over with her. And even though it's the same information, I feel like it comforts her, because she's like, okay, tell me about the money we're going to make, man. And that's what I want to do with you guys. I want to sit you down. I want to comfort you. I want to, even at a minimum of an expected growth in price, tell you what you could expect, and then go off of what I personally do expect to happen, and then also talk about what I don't expect to happen, but is a maximum potential for BCH to achieve. And that would be that 50K, 53, 55K area. It is possible. It's absolutely possible. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would not bet money that it's not going to happen. If someone's like, hey, I'll bet you right now 50K happens, so that would mean I'd have to bet that 50K doesn't happen. I would not take that bet, because it's in the realm of possibilities for sure. I want to start by, did I pause the music? I did. I want to start by going over the potential timeframes that we'll see for this cycle. Okay, so if we take the last cycle from the low point to the high point, we've got 29 months. Okay, and unfortunately for BCH, we only have one cycle really to kind of go off of, one completed cycle, right? Because we had the end of the bull cycle, then the full bear cycle, full bull and bear right here. But we're in the beginning of a bull cycle now. 29 months would put us out until April of next year. Okay, so that's April there. I do expect that this cycle will get longer, but to kind of illustrate that, we need to go over a different chart. We need to go over BTC USD, because BTC has a shared history with BCH. They actually share the exact same history on the blockchain up until the hard fork. So what I've done here is I've gone through and measured from the low points to the high points, low point to high point, low point to high point here of each cycle, right? And this cycle is a little bit tricky because we did have the high point here. This was like I would argue and say that could be the end of the bull run. But nonetheless, we still didn't see our all-time high until here. So however you want to say it, I would even say our bull run was cut short. This should have been a next leg up. The only thing that's making this confusing is that this was a double top. If this was a significantly higher top, it wouldn't even be a question. It'd be 35 months. So even though it is not significant of a higher top, it's still a higher top nonetheless. So I'm going to measure it that way. So essentially, cycles are getting longer, right? First cycle, second cycle, third cycle, fourth cycle, 18 months, 24 months, 28 months, 35 months. And even if you don't want to say 35 months, okay, well, we still got 28 months, okay? And this is from the low to the high, okay? 35. Bitcoin Cash, and I want to remember 28 to 35, 28, 35, okay? Bitcoin Cash last cycle did 29 months, okay? 29 months. So maybe actually, let's move this line 1 month back to March as our earliest potential, because based off of BTC, 28 months could be what we see. It's possible. 35 months, I think, being the longest is something we could take into consideration from the cycle low to 35 months out. That would put us in October. For those of you that have been following the channel, you know I like October as the month end of the bull cycle. I really do like that, and I do think BCH could continue to grow until then. But let's also be a little bit maybe optimistic, pessimistic. I don't know. Let's assume that the price action could continue to grow until December. Let's give it a couple months. I would give it a couple months earlier than that, but we've already got this over here. So 28 months at the minimum in respects to the last cycle for BCH and BTC. 35 here as kind of literally the last cycle's movement that we saw. And then based off of every cycle that we've seen for BTC, the length of it seems to get larger each time. So let's just throw on 37. It could be even sometime in 2026 that this cycle ends, but who knows? At any rate, I would expect BCH to top off before BTC does. Okay, as it did last cycle. Technically, it didn't this cycle, but it does normally find its lows before, and it does normally find its highs before as well. So something in here is really all I'm trying to get. That's the time range for when. Not where, but when we could see this high come in. It looks kind of close, right? On this monthly time frame, it looks kind of close. Now let's take the all-time high to all-time low fib ratio or fib scale, fib retracement here, so that we can get our extensions. The expected zone is anywhere between 13K to 53K. Okay, that's the expected zone. Yes, 53K is on the table. Yes, 13K is on the table. If we were to kind of draw a square from the lowest point in price to the highest point, low to high, and then from the earliest point in time to the latest point, that's the square that we get. Okay? I'm going to delete all the blue lines now and the fibs so that it looks a little bit cleaner. Essentially, that's our target. If we're to hit the expected fib zone, if we are to do this in the allotted amount of time that we may or may not have for the end of this cycle, we would have to make a move up, something like this, right? And I personally do believe we can do that. I think that it's totally achievable. This, to me, this whole chart looks like a giant W. And generally with W's, as you progress through it, you do gain momentum. And gaining momentum is going to be key. Because while this might look possible, I'm gonna make it look a little bit less possible right now, right? On the current trajectory, from this high to this high, you can see if we were to follow this trajectory, which is a nice trajectory, we would completely miss our target zone. If we were to take our lows from low to this low and follow that trajectory, again, we would miss that target zone. So we do need to pick up the pace. We do need, by the end of this year, I think, by the end of 2024, we need to be above $1,400. We need to be above there. That's what we need by the end of this year. Essentially, let's even say $1,500, about $1,500. And I think we can, and I think we will. If we take this relative fib from high to low here, you can see that we've got the 886 right here at about 1,174. If we can get above that, you guys, targets up to the 1272 to the 1618 are on. And this is a different fib extension than this. All I'm using this for is just more immediate price action, things to look for. Once we break through this line here at about $1,174, it should be on to about $3,600, $10,000, even $22,000, which comes in line pretty well with our expected golden box of glory up there. Delete all these here. Maybe I can just go back, yeah, like that. So again, breaking 1174, in my opinion, would ignite things to send us higher. So breaking through, again, the level that we'd want to see by the end of the year is 1427. I think if we look at 1174, it's even a lower level. But if we could break through that, that would also be a good thing to do. I mean, obviously breaking through lower levels is good if you want to see higher levels. But I digress. The main point I'm trying to say is this 886, in my opinion, is the last kind of wall in the way from us seeing new all-time highs. Because after that, the minimum extension is up here at $3,650, very close to this high here. We might find turbulence up here, but again, I do believe we're going to see new all-time highs by the end of this cycle. So what the last thing kind of stopping us is this line right here. Once we break through that, it's on to this zone up here and beyond and beyond. If you take that fib, we put on this fib, the more high to low, all-time high, all-time low fib, you can see the 1414 lines up with the 1886 pretty well. That's nice to see some kind of what's what I'm looking for, convergence on that line, on that area. It's nice to see, and that does fit within our time frame and price range as well. As long as we get, hopefully, I would hope by the end of this year we're above $1,400. That's kind of the requirement that I'm going for here. Okay, that's a new thing. If not, there's still hope, but we're going to be in crunch time, guys. Because as we get closer to next year, right? We only have March until March or December of next year between that time frame of the cycle left, and we really could end as early as March. If we were to end as early as March, we would need the price to start kicking up soon. It would need to happen this year. We need to be above like 3K by the end of this year if we want to see a 13K to 22K or 50K price in BCH. In the early part of this box, it really could. There's a reason why it's drawn here. We don't have all this time. We could have even more time. It's possible, but we have something in between this here. So ideally, the closer to this level that we are before this time frame here, before that line there, the closer we are to this before this, the better off we're going to be. Okay. And again, that's March next year, 13K. I don't think that we'll be at 13K by March of next year. I just think that, being at least above $1,400 would be nice. That'd be a nice thing to hope for and look for, right? I feel like I beat that over the head, man. Let's see. I want to go over BCH to BTC now. That's what I want to do. First I'll go over BTC. I think that by the end of this cycle, I'm not going to explain it too much, but I think by the end of the cycle, BTC could be at a minimum price of 174K, about there, to potentially something just over 462K. Something just over that. We could see $500,000 or around there by the end of the cycle for BTC. And no, I'm not just saying that. That is the actual expected areas. I'll go over it real briefly. A lot of you have probably already seen this, but I'm just going to go over it real briefly. First cycle high to cycle low. We tipped the 2272 right there. Next cycle high to cycle low. We tipped the 2272 yet again. 2272, tipped it. And then the next cycle high to the cycle low. We did not tip the 2272. We tipped the 1618. Okay, so the 1618 came up once, the 2272 came up twice. BTC, USD, come on now. 1618, 2272, cycle high to cycle low. That's where those numbers come from, okay? Now, how would I do this? How do I want to go about doing this? I was trying to do this earlier and I forgot how I did it. Let me see. Maybe I would do 172,000. Let's do 174. 174,000. Nope, not times. Divided by 13K, because that's the minimum price target that I have for BCH, right? 13K. 174 divided by 13K. Is that right? Is that what I want to do? Maybe I want to do 13. I'm sorry. I think I want to do 13K. I always do it backwards. Divided by 174,000. That's what it is. Okay, so 7.47% of a Bitcoin is what we're looking for. Okay, 7.47. I'll do 7.5. We'll say 7.5. If it were to be 23K divided by 174,000, we would need to see a 13.2% BCH versus BTC. Okay. The next one is 470,000. I'm just keeping this in my head. Don't worry, it'll all make sense in a second. Okay, I promise you, it'll make sense in a second. I want to do the same numbers now. 13K divided by, let's just say 500. Maybe not 500. Let's round down. We'll say 450. 450K as a potential high, right? That'd be 2.8% for the minimum target, 2.8%, 23K divided by 450K, 5.1%. Okay, so we've got 2.1. Here's the numbers, okay, that we need to focus on. Anything between essentially 5.1%, I'm sorry, 2.8% to 13.2%. 2.8 to 13.2%. Because this was the first one, right, where we had 13K divided by 174, 13K being the minimum expected target for BCH, 174 being the minimum expected target for BTC. That would give us a percentage ratio of 7.4% BCH versus BTC. For those of you that don't know what I mean, I'm talking about BCH to BTC on this chart here. 7 point whatever percent, that'd be essentially a 10x from where we're at now. 13% being the highest because that was that same minimum, right, of a BTC expected target, but with the maximum of the BCH target. Then we took the minimum with the maximum, then the maximum with the maximum. So what we got at the lowest was 2.8%, the highest 13.2%. Okay, just keep that in mind. Okay, 13.2, 2.8 minimums, maximums. If we take our high here to our low, I would say, is this right? Maybe we want to do it on Binance actually. Yeah, there we go. This is the one. You can see we are respecting this fib pretty well. 236.069, respecting it pretty damn well. If we look at the kind of expected areas that we could retrace to, this one right here at the 382 at 2.2%. Our 618, 69 area, we'll go to the height all the way up there at about like 9.4%. There is the 786 to the 886. These are deeper retracements. I personally don't expect that BCH will see these during this cycle. I think the zone that we're going to be in is probably somewhere around here by the end of this cycle. That's my thoughts, for what it's worth. And maybe we're in the lower half, maybe we're in the upper half, maybe we're in the half itself. I don't know, but somewhere in that range is what I'm thinking. Okay, based off the fibs, that's what I'm thinking. Delete all these lines. Now, if you look again, the minimum being 2.1% right there. The minimum that we had on our calculator was 2.8%. So that's, that fits within this range. That's, something in the expected area that we're looking for. 2.8% would be on the low end of this though. 10% being the highest of this range. So a 13.2% BTC is not something that we would, or BCH to BTC is not something that we could necessarily hope for. So all this is saying right here, if 13.2 is out of this range, all that's saying right there is that we want to see BTC go higher. We want to see Bitcoin see a higher price than 174,000 if we want the possibilities for a 23K BCH to go up, right? The higher BTC grows, the higher the probability that BCH could go to 23K. That's all that's saying if you look at it that way. At that same kind of ratio there, though, I suppose, what would I do? Maybe I would do 174 times 10. I mean, if we were to hit a 10%, if we were to hit this range at the top, 10% there of a BTC, but we did hit the minimum expected price, which is 174K for BTC, then maybe we see a 17K Bitcoin Cash, and that's nice too. Okay, but this is something, I know I'm going over a lot of numbers. I know I might have lost some of you. Hit that like button if you got lost. Hit that like button if you didn't. Something that I want to go over real quick before I end the video is well, I want to go over the BCH BTC chart more in depth than just showing the range that we'd look for if it lines up with things, and it does. I want to talk about Bitcoin itself, and I want to go over the 2017 cycle. So, one second. I'm back. Okay. I want to go over this cycle here. Okay. At its lowest, Bitcoin was worth $162. For a large part of this sideways action here, you were below $316. So you're between about $316 to $162 for January 15th until October, or sorry, January 2015 to October. So for about a year, okay. You don't want to extend that out even. You could say that you were below $500, $530, but above $162 from August 2014 until, about a year and a half later, a little bit over a year and a half later. So you consolidated for a while at that price. During this time where you were consolidating, accumulating, you ran up afterwards, after you were done with that, you ran up all the way to about 20K, $19,800, right, by the end of this cycle. This took place in a course of from low to high. That was 28 months. I remember, right? That was from this low to this high. That was 28 months there. Okay. Went from this price range to 20K. We take BCH, assuming that it has similarities to Bitcoin, which it does, assuming that it's better than Bitcoin, which it is, assuming that people might start to catch on to the fact that it's not a scam, which they are. Could we see, all I'm asking for is literally a similar amount of growth in a similar amount of time that we've seen already in Bitcoin's history already, right? This time, our low was not as low as 163. No, it was at 87. This time, our low was not, like below, what was it over there? Like 300 and something, 160, what was it? Let me see, hold on. Getting all distracted. Nope, it wasn't that chart, it was this chart. Because at first I was saying here, below 300, okay. Nope, this time, no. It was lower. We're coming from lower is what I'm trying to say versus that cycle in BTC's history, right? However, we've also been in this area here for a longer amount of time. We've been consolidating between, realistically, like technically speaking, $1,687. We've been consolidating between there for cycles now, multiple cycles. But really, most of the time was spent below here, below this line, which we're actually holding as support right now, below about 460 to 87, around there. And really, I guess most of the time we spent above 203 even, right? So similar areas, but for multiple cycles, right? From 2018, we're still even in this range until now, April 2024, right? January or December, I guess, well, let's 2018 technically, but let's call it 2019 to 2024, about 5 years. Let's call it about 5 years that we've been in this range as a whole. We're at the higher parts of it, don't get me wrong. 5 years of consolidation, 5 years of things getting worked out, of progress, of more adoption, of bad publicity dying down. 5 years consolidating in this area where BTC only needed half a year and a half at the most, right? Where it was in its bear phase consolidating before it broke out to new highs. And it did this exact same move, right? From relatively similar price targets price areas that we're at now. Did this same move. Can history repeat itself? I don't know. If history repeats itself, well, that means that we're only going to go to $19,800. And I think we're actually going to go a little bit above that. I think by the end of this cycle, you guys, this is what I see happening. And if you stuck around for this is probably the part that's like the easiest to say, the easiest to comprehend. Not that anything that I've been talking about is like too hard to comprehend. It's just talking about numbers, going back and forth through all these ideas. I get it can be confusing or just boring, but if you stuck around, this is my main thesis, is that by the end of this cycle, probably specifically, literally by the end of it, at the end of it, the last 6 months, the last 3 months or less, there will be the narrative going around that Bitcoin Cash is repeating what Bitcoin did. It's going to repeat what Bitcoin did. And all these people, maybe, by that time. They might be like, well, it makes sense, right? It's got the same, like they're going to talk about it like it was obvious that this would happen. We've seen it happen with Bitcoin. Of course, Bitcoin Cash is probably going to repeat Bitcoin's history. That's what's going to happen, but I would doubt that the bear market for BCH will repeat the 2018, 2019 bear market. I doubt it will be the same as BTC's. I bet it will be more tame, actually, a lot more tame. So watch out for that, right? When people start saying toward this time that it's just like and we do say it in the space, it's like a time machine, right? It's like buying Bitcoin before it was worth $1,000, because that's essentially what it is. Don't treat it as that going forward for everything, right? It's not going to repeat the exact same things. And I do expect that, because, and I'm only talking about this right now because I do expect that BCH will see new all-time highs this cycle. I do expect that because BTC, from similar areas in price for a shorter amount of time, saw this exact range, at least on the lower end that we're looking for in this similar amount of time, I do believe that BCH will see that. It doesn't mean that it has to. None of this is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I feel like I had some point that I was trying to make. I forgot, man. I don't know. I got distracted. I don't know. Anyways, guys. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to do. BCH BTC on Binance. So if you look at this thing on the weekly RSI looks pretty good, but it looks like it could go lower. We could even go below the 50 and still be fine. Daily RSI looks sad. 4-hour RSI also looks sad. Low to high, holding that 886 as resistance. Yeah, we probably do go down to about 0.0068 to 0.0063, maybe even 0.0006 itself. I think going to this green line down here, that green line there, or below it, maybe not that low below it, but going either to it here or below it over here makes sense to me. So probably between about 0.006 to 0.0068 is where I think we're going. We're at 0.00727 of a Bitcoin now. So probably going to lose a little value versus BTC over the coming days, over the coming weeks. But inevitably, I think we're in good shape. All in all, that'd still be a higher low. All in all, BCH is getting ready to do new things that it's never done before. We're about to see we're literally about to see the first time in this chart's existence a higher high and higher low trend that we just never seen it before, right? It's only been lower highs and lower lows. If we get a higher high, there's a lower low, right? Like here, for example, you got your higher high here, you had your lower low there, right? You get your higher low here, but then you get your lower high there, right? Higher low, lower high. So you can have your higher lows, but you're going to get lower highs. You can get your higher highs, but you're going to get your lower lows. This will be the first time that we've seen a higher low, higher high coming together. And I think that with a list of things that are like first in this chart's history, I think that just all adds up to what I've been saying this whole video, which is that I think Bitcoin Cash has a dramatically higher price target in mind than the current all-time high stands at. So I don't know. Time will tell. For those of you who are like, what about on Coinbase where it says it went to 9,000? I don't know. I'm on the Coinbase chart right now, man. It says it went to, at least on TradingView, it says it went to 4,300. So I don't know. I just would scrap that $9,000 being the previous all-time high or the current all-time high. But we're going to smash that too anyways. So, I mean, however you want to look at it. But this is on TradingView. This is like what's literally as accepted data. If it's on Coinbase, it's something different. I don't know why they would have it different on there, but not like that here, or why every other chart doesn't show that as well. You know, I guess they don't have as much history. Maybe that's why. But anyways, man, I think I've said enough. I think I've gone on talking long enough. Bitcoin Cash, 23K is what I expect. By the end of this year, I would really like to see us above $1,400. That's what I'd like to see. And yeah, those are kind of the key points I think to take away. And that's about it. So take care. Have a good day. Hit that like button. Subscribe. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.